Hello, I'm Lori Vick, a trustee of Suicide Prevention Education Alliance and also a suicide survivor, having lost my husband to suicide 8 years ago. And I want to invite everyone to attend the 10th annual SPEA Into the Light Walk to be held at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo on October 6th, 6 o'clock in the evening, rain or shine. We will be there. And we are also pleased to have join us Dr. Nora McNamara, who is with the University Hospital's Discovery and Wellness Center for Children. Nora is going to be speaking at the event, and she joins us today to talk more about suicide prevention and its impact on young people. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
A startling statistic is that suicide is the second leading cause of death among young people ages 15 to 24. That's just incredible.
Well, it really is mind-boggling when you think about it. What I like to remind people is every time you hear on the news or read in the newspaper about a homicide in a young person, there are approximately 2 suicides in that same age group, ages 15 to 24, that you usually don't read about or hear about.
So it's really incredible. And you know, a death by suicide at any age is tragic, but especially devastating when it is a young person. And I know personally, my husband, I lost it, was in his 50s, but I believe that the seeds of his depression were planted early in life. And I know that it's very common for depression to set in at a young age, but that's why I'm so dedicated to SPEA. How early can we notice signs of depression in young people?
Well, of course, it's not as common in school-age children. So between the ages of 6 and 12, data suggests that as many as 5% of children will have an episode of depression before they turn 13. But in adolescence, it becomes quite common, and most recent data suggests that upwards of 20% of adolescents will have at least one episode of major depression before they turn 18.
My goodness. Well, I know you're doing some really groundbreaking research at the Discovery and Wellness Center for Children along those lines, aren't you?
Absolutely. We have a number of ongoing treatment studies for youngsters with any mood disorder, including major depression, and we also have a number of genetic studies for children, adolescents, and parents with a history of mood disorders, as well as neuroimaging studies. So we are really interested in learning everything that we can about mood disorders in childhood, because if we can find really excellent treatments, then our hope is that we can prevent more and more suicides. We don't want any other families to have to go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're talking about noticing signs of depression or major mood disorders in young people and adolescents, how do you separate that from what would be considered perhaps the normal teenage angst? What are some of the signs or symptoms?
Well, first of all, we think that most adolescents actually are not troubled. So there's this stereotype of adolescents that they're surly, they're hard to get along with, they're obnoxious, and most of them actually are not. So for that 20% of adolescents that are going to have a mood episode, what we look for is a pervasive change in their mood from the way they used to feel. In teenagers in particular, rather than sadness, families and other adults working with the teenagers may notice irritability as the predominant mood. Teenagers are not supposed to be pervasively and predominantly irritable. So that is a really important red flag for families to be aware of. Other things that can happen would be changes in sleep, changes in appetite, changes in energy level, problems with concentration or motivation for school, not being as interested in socializing with their friends, and of course, thoughts about suicide or suicidal behavior. All of those symptoms generally would need to be present for at least 2 weeks, although what we've found by the time young people present for treatment, they've often had symptoms for months, if not a year or longer. So the more we can do to help people identify symptoms of a mood disorder early, which is what the Suicide Prevention and Education Alliance does by teaching teenagers to recognize symptoms. Our hope is that young people will present earlier for treatment when it's actually easier to treat the symptoms. So the shorter amount of time somebody has symptoms of a mood disorder, the easier it is for us to help them get back to their own baseline.
And then monitor them for life, really.
Well, in child and adolescent psychiatry, really just until they're 18 or 19. And of course, we would urge any adult or young person, if you feel like you have signs of depression or your adolescent has signs of depression, please make an appointment with your child's primary care doctor as soon as possible so that you can discuss this with them. Primary care doctors, so pediatricians and family practitioners, have training in helping to identify mood disorder symptoms in young people that they're providing primary care for and making referrals close to home to make treatment as easy as possible for families to access.
And I think as non-threatening as possible too. It's a scary thing for a child and for a parent to go through, and I applaud you for that effort in identifying situations from your primary care physician.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the school program that SPEA has, and we're so proud of that program. It's now been delivered to over 120,000 young people in our area at many, many schools, 130 schools, and that's wonderful. And what makes that possible is our walk at the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo, the Into the Light Walk. And we want to remind everyone that, again, that walk is on October 6th at the Cleveland Metro Parks Zoo, the Suicide Prevention Education Alliance Into the Light Walk, 6 p.m., a powerful evening. And the message of that evening is that there is hope and there is healing. And that is the message we want to get across to everyone through our Into the Light Walk. Thank you, Dr. McNamara.
Thank you, Lori.